Kia ora and welcome to Tarmac. I'm Dave.
I'm Matthew, and as you can see, the color of the car behind me especially gives it away that this is no ordinary Volkswagen Touareg.
No, you're right. It's the new Volkswagen R. So I love doing that. So it's not a pirate vehicle. It is their most powerful SUV as for production style SUV. And it also is a PHEV. Who knew? Come take a look at this. Named after some lost nomadic tribe in the middle of nowhere, the Touareg thrust itself onto the motoring landscape in 2002, and it was co-developed originally alongside the Audi Q8, the Urus, and the Bentayga. So in many ways, this is a very, very cost-effective, high-end luxury SUV. When it comes to different generations, every sort of 8 years, another one comes along, which means that this one is actually in a mid-cycle. So it's not a new version, it's now basically a facelift, but they've done quite a big facelift to it. For this latest generation in New Zealand, what they've done is they've got three models. You've got the V6, you've got the V6S R line, and then this big beastie, which is the R itself. And it really is, as I said in the intro, the most powerful SUV that Volkswagen have produced ever. So it's got a lot to come up with, but it has embraced the R stuff very well. So when you're looking around the front here, you've got the R split grille, you've got the R badging, and when it comes to these lights, look at them. They've got these DRLs that have got the L, sort of L shape, which actually is the same as on the rear. It's got a 3-eye look, so your lights going forward very well. You've got the eye matrix. There's also 19,000 LEDs across here, and I don't want to harp on more and more about these lights, but if you're driving along in a sort of along the highway and you want to make sure that you are still illuminated in front, it will black out the stuff to the side and make sure you can just see miles ahead just in your lane. So lots going on with just the lights themselves. Round the side here, what we've got is 22-inch feet, so they're very big, and some nice slim rubber, and actually it doesn't compromise the ride at all, particularly because it's come on the airbags. There's also our badging, and our vehicle itself comes in lapis blue, so those are looking for the whole R stuff, you'll know this color very well. It's even got blue brake calipers. So as this is a facelift, obviously the proportions are the same as its current generation. Hopefully that makes sense to you. And also, aside from the front grille, you'd hard push to tell if it is a different model or generation or upgrade to it. But round the back here, look at this thing here. You've got a lovely big light bar, and look, illuminated Volkswagen badge. I mean, that's worth the price ticket right there. Urus, that doesn't illuminate. Look at that. Anyway, the rest of it, you have the R badging, you have the E-hybrid, which we'll get to in a minute. The lights here are obviously directional when it comes to indicators, something BMW doesn't have. And also these wheels here, because this is the R, they are fixed, whereas the R line, so the V6S, actually has all-wheel steer. So if you're after all-wheel steer, you've got to take one step back. And also taking it as a step back, the boot space is slightly smaller. It's still 800 and something litres, but there is a little bit of battery gubbings going on here. So if you are looking for more space and all-wheel steer, then you go for the V6S. If you want out-and-out power, you go for this one. And on that note, let's go and see what powers this. Okay, behind this flap is the first part of this vehicle's just awesomeness power. So it's a plug-in hybrid. So this is connected to a 17.9 kilowatt-hour battery, which when fully charged will give you 53 kilometers of range. That is then strapped to a 100 kilowatt motor, which is then married to what goes on under the bonnet. So let's go there. Now in the V6 and the V6S, they've got a diesel engine in here, under their bonnet. With this, we've got a 3-litre V6 petrol engine, and that, when married to that electrical motor, delivers a 340 kilowatts of power and 700 newton meters of torque. 0 to 100 is in 5.1 seconds. And should you decide to not be trying to kick its bum, what you've got is 1.9 litres per 100 kilometres and 44 grams of CO2 out of those exhaust at the back. Anyway, so lots going on under here and very blue in colour. Speaking of things that are very blue, Matthew's inside and he'll show you what's going on in there.
Well, it's probably that weather outside, to be honest, that's getting me feeling blue. But blue is really the color, to be honest, with the Volkswagen R products. And as Dave pointed out, on the outside, lapis blue, very much the hero color on these R products, as is with the Mark 8 Golf R, the T-Roc R, Tiguan R, and now of course you have the Touareg R. And it's not just the blue that's on the outside, but that very much translates into the inside of the car. Starting off with all of the stitching, so you can see across the dashboard there, all in blue. Across the seats, you've got not just blue stitching, but this blue sort of tubing going along the seats. Seats, of course, are all in black leather as well, and you get some R embossing on the headrest to really hone that R badge and that R&S, if you like. And the blue theme doesn't just stop there, it translates into the electronic side of things as well, because the ambient lighting is sort of factory set to the blue color, though you can change the color should that be your preference. Cup holders as well down the middle here are also lit in that same blue color. In terms of practicalities, this is a family SUV. It might be a performance family SUV, but it is a family SUV nonetheless, which means that you have really generous size door bins. They are only felt lined on the bottom rather than sort of all around as VW products used to be. You do get two USB-C chargers down the middle here. You get a wireless phone charger there as well. Your cup holders, obviously, storage underneath here, along with some more USB-C ports and a good sized glove box over there. So they really have thought of those aspects of practicality from that perspective. On the technology side, well, we have got, of course, this sort of center area here with this new gear selector. You've got the engine start stop button, your handbrake, and then the volume rocker, as well as two different knobs here. So one of which is for the suspension or the air suspension settings, which you can raise to various heights and lower it as well. And then on the right side here, you have your various different drive modes which go right from the road to performance, or sport rather, to various off-road modes. So it's still a SUV, but they have added that performance aspect as well. Now, as you can see there, the central infotainment screen is nice and large, and it's got that sort of orientation towards the driver, just to make it that much more of a driver-focused car. And as you can see, one of the cool party tricks with Volkswagen infotainment screens is when I bring my hand towards it, you can see that all of these menus and things pop up all of a sudden. And I have tried it, because of course we are professional journalists, and I can confirm that that sort of function works from pretty much every single angle you can come at the screen with. Anyway, once you're on the screen, you'll see that this is the home screen sort of layout here. You have your maps in big, and then a whole bunch of shortcuts over here. Down the bottom, of course, your air conditioning shortcuts are there, and these are permanently fixed there. On the right hand side, you have some more shortcuts as well in relation to your camera, for example, as well as your air conditioning settings. And up the top, really, there's your sort of key shortcuts, if you like, around the audio input, your communications, and then of course your app drawer. When you click on that, you're presented with all of these different apps and things. I do want to point out something that's pretty nerdy, if you like, that when you do click on legal info, it does show, you take a look at that, a whole bunch of things like the chairman, the board of management, the customer care contact details, and various other disclaimers and things, as well as the actual share capital value of Volkswagen AG, as you can see over there. If I go back to the app drawer like so, the other key thing I want to point out here is the vehicle settings. Now you can see there, it's got the e-range monitor, which gives you basically a map of how much you have to go until you run out of range, like so. Then if I click right there, you can also see the energy flow meter there, the batteries in the back, that 17.9 kilowatt hour unit, and the engine in the front, and then how they work in symbiosis with each other. The other thing is, if I go back to that knob on the center console there and flick around, this is where the real performance aspect of the R comes into place. In sport mode there, but you can see that there is a total of seven modes, my bad, as you know I cannot count. 7 modes here, and each one comes with its own unique settings. You can also adjust the suspension levels, and as you can see on the left side there, that you can also adjust the reserve charge level like so, and you can also flick to E mode, which is to drive in electric only. So there is so much going on with these options, and as you can see there, several different options for the best essentially ability for your Touareg R to go over various terrains. Now the screen in front of the driver, again continuing with the blue R theme, as you can see there, all of the gauges including the needle, everything is highlighted in that same lapis blue, which has become such a hero color for Volkswagen's R sub-brand. The information itself on this screen is delivered to you, as you can see, in so much, rather plethora of it. On the right hand side you have your speedo, like so, nice and large. On the left hand side you have actually almost a double gauge. On one side it is a rev counter, which is on the right, and then on the left side it is actually like an EV sort of charge and discharge meter, so it does tell you if you're discharging the battery or charging it up. And then in the middle you have the total range, which is combined both electric and petrol. And then below that you have a battery charge indicator. Note that there is no percentage meter, but just a general bar to show you how much charge you have in the batteries. Obviously the fuel gauge is opposite that on the right hand side. And then in the middle is really your key information center there. As you can see, it's showing the doors currently, but if I do press OK to accept that, I can either have the maps in the middle there, I can have my audio, telephone. As you can see, there are so many different options available to display in the middle there, which is quite cool. Going back here to the steering wheel, as you can see, Volkswagen's touch capacitive buttons make another return over here. On the left side you have your adaptive cruise control settings like so, and your volume, and on the right side here you have the adjustment for the screen in front, your steering wheel heater, and then of course the audio as well. If I click view, you can see that the layout has changed to a slightly more minimalistic approach, and then press it again and it comes far forward, and there's so much more to see, as you can tell over there. Steering wheel itself is a nice leather covered unit. It's got pretty solid thumb grips there, perforations in the leather, a flat bottom with an R badge below here, and then you've got your paddle shifters behind the steering wheel. They are quite a cheap plastic, admittedly, which is a bit disappointing for the price that this Touareg R commands, but again, it is pretty much a steering wheel that you would see in all of the VW R products across the range.
And as with any family SUV, there is plenty of space here in the back of the Touareg. So very similar to what you would expect from the current generation, and of course the facelifted versions as well. There's plenty of space for 3 people in here. This seat is set to what would be similar to my driving position, and as you can see, I still have heaps of knee room, and there's also plenty of headroom as well, even with this massive sunroof in here. As you get inside, you are faced with pretty much the same level of finishing that you get on the inside. You get this super nice LED lighting that is coming to the back, the leather accents and everything. Also, which is very cool, is that you have to actually take the hat off to Volkswagen for making these small touches that make something feel a little bit more special, and that of course comes back to that LED, the piping on the seats, and everything that you can also see as you are on the back of the Touareg. As a little bit of a nod to those cars of previous years from Volkswagen, namely like the Mark 7 Golf, for example, you see that all the things that you interact with from the center console to the back passengers, they're physical. So you get a 4-zone climate control, all with physical buttons, and even the display is the same that was used on the days of the Mark 7, and you get the ability to set it to auto or just customize using the 2 different zones that you have for the people at the back. Then coming just a little bit downwards to that, you get 2 USB-C charging ports and a 12-volt socket, which is a little bit of a refreshing view. Then there is a armrest with 2 cup holders and a little bit of a space for you to store other stuff. But other than that, I don't think that there is much else to be said. Well, of course, mentioning that you get vents both on the center of the console, but also on the B pillar. All right. Other than that, I think that it's about time that we take this blue shed for a drive.
So this Touareg is just got such a dual personality. I mean, the thing that I forgot to mention is the fact that it's a big SUV that will still tow 3.5 tons of stuff, as well as the fact that it will do zero emissions and all that sort of stuff. And yet it's also off the line speed is better than a Golf GTI. So it's approaching the Golf R actually in speeds of timing off the line. So it is just such a big dual personality, and so caters for virtually everything.
It's really nice to see actually that comes through even for somebody like Dave, I guess, who is not so much of a VW mad person as Harry or I, because that's always been a signature of the Volkswagen R brand ever since they became R, is that on one hand you have this performance aspect and certain craziness almost in the level of performance, but then on the other hand you have the luxurious aspect, you have the comfort as well. It just does a lot of things so well, and I think this car is very much on brand for the R from all those perspectives.
Yeah, and also just the fact that it comes with such a great pedigree. The Audi Q8, the Urus, the Porsche. And there are aspects of all of those vehicles that you can see if you look closely enough, which is great again.
There is certainly almost a claim to fame, if you like, in that aspect, because you throw as well the Bentley Bentayga into that mix.
Bentayga, yeah, of course.
You have some amazing brands that owe their roots actually to this, I guess, Touareg in a way, and that makes this Touareg at $160,000 an amazing package, to be honest, all around.
Cheap, but cheap. But being a facelift, they haven't actually. I thought I was going to have an easy job, just wandering around the front and going, blah blah blah. But there's actually, when you start delving into it, they've done quite a lot with this facelift. And then when you step inside, there's so much more. And then you've got that powertrain where they really have gone all out. So it may be a facelift, but I don't know. The next 4 years with these or something has got to be good.
And I've got to say, Dave did touch on that powertrain, and while it's quoted as 1.9 liters per 100 kilometers as the efficiency, their official sort of brochure and terminology says that will change due to factors like driving. Interestingly, if you are planting your foot down and using the proper sport mode with just the V6 engine churning out all the power, we have been doing something like 12 or 13 liters per 100k, so it does change the fuel efficiency number quite a bit.
Well, actually, to get all the horses and all the king's men going, if you stamp right down, there is a step down, and that providing there is the battery power, just throws everything at it. So 700 newts under your right foot is quite substantial, and enough to make the family take notice.
Something else that will make the people in the interior take notice is the audio system. So it does come with a 14-speaker Dyne audio system, including a 730-watt subwoofer, and it really and you get 7.1 channel Dolby Atmos as well. So it's almost like a cinema, or rather, it can be tuned to be like a cinema in here if you like.
Now, on the New Zealand launch, I got to drive the V6, the V6S, and this and to be honest, on the launch, I found that the V6S was my favourite. Had plenty of grunt from down low. It had the all-wheel steer and things like that. But as it turns out, I now prefer this. So I think Volkswagen are on the money with this model. It has a higher price tag, but it just feels better. There's the sunroof, there's the stereo that is so much better than the V6S, and just its driving oomph is phenomenal.
This one, our model in particular, also comes with the Puglia leather package, which includes this leather, the contrast stitching, the sort of perforations and all of that. So it further adds to the luxurious factor. But I hate to be the naysayer here, but not everything is great about this car. Like any, it does have its shortfalls, and in one aspect I certainly have found some of the materials to be a little bit scratchy and hard, which is not so great considering the price tag. It's certainly the most expensive, if not one of the most expensive cars you can have right now from Volkswagen. So that was a little bit of a letdown for me in particular.
Sure, but if you start putting into comparison with the ones it came from, this is still a very, very cost-effective model of big SUV.
And big it certainly is. And especially when you adjust, or rather start fiddling around with the air suspension, and you get it jacked right up, the height, I mean, is just crazy. You feel like one of those sort of off-roaders with their lifted suspension sitting right high up. Harry even said he thought he could fit his head in between the tire and the wheel arch on the highest setting. So, and he's got a big head too.
He does have a big head. But actually, we should probably test that right now. Not his head, obviously, but on the off-road capabilities. Let's see if we can go down this big giant curb. See, like an absolute dream. It's so easy to do that. So absolutely no problems. I think we should go a little bit more off-road, but the other thing is just how cool that VW illuminated sign at the or the logo at the back. I know you think is a bit of a gimmick, but it just strikes a new look. Both actually, and front and rear, they've both got light bars. They've both got a lot going on in the light IQ-ness. So I think it's cool.
IQ-ness. I will say yes, I think it's a gimmick, but in particular I think the color choice is probably wrong, because this is a Volkswagen R and blue is the color of the R brand, so it should have been blue if anything, rather than red, which is the GTI colorway. But that's just me being a crazy car nutter, I suppose.
In the terms of manual, it's a red devil. I love it. So there you have it, the new Touareg, or facelifted Touareg R. It is the top of the line, and it is just loaded with power, and also a little bit of silent driving as well. So when you start off, you're in silent EV mode. You can top it up and go 53 Ks, depending on, well, as long as you're not driving, according to the brochure. And just when you put your foot down, you really do get that good jolt of acceleration. Would I say it's a full-on thoroughbred R? Probably not. I think it's a manipulated R, but it just feels very good and sporty. And I forgot to mention also, if you load up the stuff on the roof racks, they actually weigh that as well, so you can tell if you're overloaded. So there is a lot going on with this vehicle.
Yes, I completely agree with Dave actually there for once, is that it's got the R trimmings, the color, the luxury, all of that stuff, but performance-wise, it doesn't feel quite as raughty or as entertaining as what we know from the Volkswagen R brand. But yeah, apart from that, it is a big SUV that actually delivers so much compared to, you can say, its more expensive siblings that sit above it.
And it'll still tow 3.5 tons of you. That's a quick way to get your boat onto the water. Anyway, thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one. See ya.